I got to look. I've been looking for
whatever you need me to
3, 2, 1. Let's go.
All right, here we go. Yay! Listen, we are so excited. We have been waiting 92 days at best, the last 3 years at best for tonight. It is the election night. The polls across the country, 8 p.m., have closed, and already states are being called. First of all, I want to go around the room and introduce our guest. First, the Honorable Blondell Reynolds Brown. First of all, say hello to the people.
Hello. Happy to be back. Happy to be a part of an important discussion on a very potentially historically pending evening. We're all waiting for after the work is done.
All right. You said after the work is done. Yes. We're going to talk more about that. My guest, Melissa Robbins. Can we make some noise? Glad to have you in the studio as well. Melissa, say hello to the people.
Hello, everybody. I know you guys are just as anxious as we are. I'm very happy to be here with Frankie Darcell, someone who is near and dear to my heart and I love dearly. And it is a pleasure and an honor to be here with you all tonight.
All right. Mr. Al Spivey, yay!
I'm giving this under protest. I'm the only male here. But I am an enlightened male who happens to know a little bit about politics. And I appreciate the invite. The work you're doing in this realm is unprecedented.
Oh, bless your heart.
I love the energy that I saw today. History is the best predictor of future behavior.
Yes.
And I'm sensing a historic night.
Are you? It's in your bones, Al.
Right.
It's in your bones. Now listen, we are going to have a very hard conversation about what's at stake in this election, but we're going to do it casually as well. I am going to be monitoring. Oh my goodness. Wave to the people online, everybody. People are watching around the country and around the world. And everyone is watching Pennsylvania. So we're going to have a very intellectual conversation about a very serious situation for those who are trying to understand the assignment. I'm just saying. All right. Now we've got young people in the room as well. I want to say hello. Alicia, come around. I want everybody in the room because we've got a room full of people. Alicia, say hello to the people.
Hello to the people. Hey, Philadelphia.
Come on. We want you to know who's in the room if they'd like to say they're in the room. You want to come in? Come on, introduce yourself. Anybody that wanted to, where's my hair friend? She's got to be my great friend before the night is over.
Hello.
You have to say who you are.
I'm Chandra Deal, Philadelphia resident.
All right. Thank you. Sean, did you vote today or did you vote in advance? Talk about that. What was it like? Did you go out early today? Were there people in line? What was the case?
Yes, I went out this morning and voted before I dropped my daughter off to daycare. Wasn't a line. Went in less than 5 minutes.
Okay. All right. I won't ask you who you voted for or why. Unless you like.
I voted for Kamala.
All right. Now, why? What was your motivation? Get back in the camera.
My motivation for voting for her was because a lot of the things that she stood for resonated with me. I am a mother of 2 Black boys.
Wow.
One is in college. So education is definitely important right now. He's afforded to go to college. I don't have to pay for any tuition. I'm a person that went to college and got tons of tuition. So to be able to, have his education funded is very, very important to me. And I do not want him to lose it, as well as having a toddler that's in pre-K. So that education.
First of all, I'd vote for you on that alone. Okay. A toddler and one in college. I love it. Thank you so much for joining us this evening for the conversation. Great. We've got another guest in the studio with us. Come around to the camera and say hello.
Hi, everyone. I'm Asia Richardson, the owner of Indian Princess here.
All right.
And I'm happy to be here.
Good. Thank you so much. Yes. Thank you for joining us. It's going to be a historic night. Let me first start with you, Blondell.
Yes.
You've been out there. You've been on the ground leading up to today. We're going to talk about Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Pennsylvania is so important. Listen, I'm going to read some of the comments. Hello, Patricia. Hi, Clara. Hi, Sharon. Hi, Juanita. Thank you all so much for checking in. Let me know where you voted. If you voted early, I voted early. I voted 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
I voted 2 weeks ago, and I got to talk about that experience because I actually enjoyed it. I enjoyed the early vote. Plus, I knew for me and my schedule today, it was just going to be a lot going on.
Yes.
And my hope was that there would be lines where people would be voting, and I didn't want to stand in it because I had too much to do. So I enjoyed the process of voting early, took my ballot in. You had to almost like fill out the ballot as if it was a vote by mail, filled it out at my county commissioner's office, put it in the box. Within 24 hours, I got an email that said your ballot has been received. And then I got another email that says that your ballot has been confirmed within a 24-hour period. And I appreciated that. So Blondell, you have been out on the ground with this with the Harris campaign.
Yes,
Talk about that process and getting to tonight. Pennsylvania is a must win for the Harris campaign. Talk about what it looked like and the work that went into that.
For sure. That's a lot to unpack. And the beauty of this experience is that we get a chance to talk about it. But I always believe in starting first of saying thank you to those who have been on the front line for the last 4 years, beginning with our city commissioner's office. Omar Sabir and Lisa Dealey and Mr. Seth, help me out, Al.
Bluestein.
Yeah.
Bluestein have been principally charged with all roads lead to that office when it comes to making sure that we end up with an election that's fair and honest and fair and honest. So nothing happens with the city commissioner's office. And what we all know is that democracy is a privilege. It's not something that we believe that we've earned it, but we also, as Kamala Harris has said for the last 100 plus days of her campaign, we have to fight for it. And so they are the marshals, if you will, or the sheriff, if you will, who are principally responsible for making sure that Philadelphia delivers in a way that we are expected to deliver.
Yeah.
What we know is all roads to this victory for the Democrats must come through Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And further, Philadelphia has to deliver in ways that I would suspect stand taller than what we did for President Barack Obama.
And that's a big challenge because I'm going to talk to Al about the fact that you worked on that campaign. You know what those numbers looked like back in 2008, 2012.
In a significant way.
In a significant way. Let me start too when you talk about the commissioners and what their roles are. I have to tell you, to interview the district attorney, Larry Krasner, yesterday too, and to hear him say, if you decide you're going to come up here in Philadelphia.
No, quote him.
Go ahead.
Quote him right now.
Get it?
F it round and find
out.
out.
Do you hear me on that?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, Al, you worked on the 2008, and I'm going to read some of the comments. Hi, Patricia Cooper. Thank you so much for joining us. Share this with your friends as well with the Harris campaign. Yes, let's talk about it. We're going to talk about it. Let me know where you voted. How was the turnout where you are? I'd love to hear from you on that. Make that comparison, Al. Al's 5 years joining us to the 2008, 2012, the Obama campaign, what we're looking at today. You have to admit, 92 days, what she has accomplished, unprecedented, unbelievable. But that's what women do when we crash the glass ceiling.
So, Blondie, what does that used to say to me about the high heels? Say that real quick.
So what I used to say is that Black women have to walk on water, right?
Yeah.
And women have to walk on water. Black women have to walk on water and fly. And further, we have to do it in high heels backwards on a tightrope.
There you
All
go.
right.
That's what. So here's what I'll say about now versus 2008. 2016 is not 2024. 2020 is not 2024. 2024 stands alone. Kamala Harris has done in a third of the time.
Yes.
She's raised over $1.2 billion, right? Has been competitive in all of the 8 swing states.
For sure.
Has been well, here's what I'll say. He's been lawless and she's been flawless.
Okay. All right.
That's right. Yeah, she's been flawless. She's been flawless. So to see, it's funny how when Trump was calling for a debate and then he finally went up against a career prosecutor.
Right.
and she handed him that, and then all of a sudden he can't debate no more.
Right.
So we're living in a real interesting time. I have to say that the Harris campaign, as it relates to the Obama campaign, equal ground games. And also understand that over the last 4 years when Biden first ran in 2020, that ground game has not left. They've augmented it over time. So we have experienced canvassers, experienced telephone bankers. There has been an army that has come from New York, New Jersey,
That's right.
Maryland, Massachusetts. I'm
sorry, Al, did they call Delaware for projected winner out of
yes.
Out of look, we'll take one. Let's go. Can we get it ready?
Yes.
Right? They called Delaware.
Yes.
They called Delaware for Kamala Harris. We talked about as well the potential, and if they've already called Delaware, I didn't realize Delaware is a state of 1.35 million people in the entire state.
Yes.
Right? Philadelphia has more people in the city of Philadelphia than the state of Delaware. Lisa Blunt is running for Senate. So they've not mentioned, because if they're calling numbers for the president on the presidential side,
if Kamala carried Delaware,
then I believe that.
We would hope.
Yeah, right.
We would hope that they did not split their ticket.
No, we will net a Senate.
Okay.
Senate seat.
Right. Well, and I'm looking at in the Delaware race, the fact that we have the potential. Get your microphone, Lisa. Get your microphone. Yeah. Okay, good. They called her for Lisa Blunt. Yeah, there we go. Lisa Blunt, Rochester. And the significance of that, the significance
of that is Lisa Blunt.
Thank you for taking my comment.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I'm sorry.
That's why we're bringing it up, because we also talked about Brooks out of Maryland, that we could see 2 African American women in the Senate in the U.S. Senate since the vice president has left. So let's give a round of applause. Go Delaware. We see you, Delaware. Let me read a couple of comments from people online as well. Daphnia Adams, hello, voted today. She said it was almost 3 minutes in. When you guys voted, let me read a couple of more comments as well. Voted early, mail-in ballot. Thank you so much, Patricia Cooper. I've been getting a lot of messages from people today saying this historic moment is really bringing a sense of anxiety.
Yeah, for sure.
People don't want to watch television. People are like, I'm just going to go to bed, wake up tomorrow, and I'm going to, crack my eye and see, who the winner is, because it is a sense of anxiety. History making is always, there's a price to pay for that. But we're talking about it. Go ahead, Alan. Then I'm going to go to Melissa.
All right. So I'll defer to Melissa because she hasn't said anything.
Okay, well, I interrupted you when we talked about the vice president. Take it back. And I'm going to come to Melissa, because trust me, Melissa, she's going to reclaim her time. She will reclaim her time.
So what I'll say is that how they do the projections is they do what they call super voters.
Mm-hmm.
Super voters does not include new registered voters, because new registered voters have not voted yet.
Right.
So if you look at all of the swing states and all of the voter registration that has occurred in the swing states, they are skewed towards women. And if you know anything about politics, women vote at a higher propensity than men do.
Consistent.
Absolutely.
So there's a sleeper vote out there. And then on top of all of that, in Pennsylvania, there were over 170,000 Nikki Haley voters that were protest voters when she came out of the race against Trump in the primary, the Republican primary. Trump has not courted that group. Kamala has.
Right.
So there's the millennials, there's women, and then there's
the Nikki Haley.
The Nikki Haley group. And then on top of that, someone calls Puerto Rico, before the people who are Latino descent in the middle of the state hear that they come from a garbage country, Puerto Rico. Right. So we have picked up momentum from Puerto Ricans, from women, from millennials, and also from folk who are not factored in these polls.
And you would agree too that former congressional member Liz Cheney I think she did an incredible job. Listen, because we can differ on some of the politics.
Right.
We can differ on some of the politics, but the way in which she stood tall, though, when there were many Republican men who did not do what she did,
not have the spine.
that did not, and she did. I believe, and I've talked to some of my folk in Michigan who said they were swayed by, who are non-African American, swayed by her commitment and vigilance to being able to say, listen, I'm a Republican, will always be a Republican, but what I am first is a believer in the Constitution.
Amen.
And as a former legislator, this is what I need. This is what I should do. Go ahead.
So if you look at Liz Cheney's career, she paid forward when she was on the impeachment panel.
Indeed.
And then they targeted her.
Yes.
But that did not silence her.
Correct.
In fact, as you would say, Blondell Reynolds Brown, that backbone got fortified. So if you look at what Trump has done, it's a dog whistle to his supporters. Most of his support has been capped at between 47 and 40%, 48, right? Capped. Kamala is not capped. So you're going to see some historic numbers tonight.
Yes.
And I would say to anybody, if you got anxiety, then you need to go get a dog. Because if you understand how this thing works, we have the advantage. We have history on our side. We have the better candidate. She's well financed.
Yeah.
She is a superior candidate. Like I said, lawless ain't beating flawless.
She's grown the tent.
Right. Let me say hello to Clara Parker. Hello, Frankie. Clementon, New Jersey. I voted as you did a little over a week ago. Thank you, Carolyn Jones, for joining us. Jesse Thomas, Dominique Alexander. Let me know what your feelings are about as well the election and how you're feeling about the election is over. The polls are closed in Pennsylvania, which is where we're broadcasting from, and the majority of states across the country. Many of the states have already called the election for either Vice President Harris or the former or Donald Trump. They've already done that. So we're going to talk about that coming as well. My friend, Melissa, your thought. She is so engaged in a short, your thought for where we are. And right now they're looking at Pennsylvania. We're going to have a lot of conversation about that. Your thought at this point.
So let's have that conversation about Pennsylvania. And
that camera in front of you.
Let's have the conversation about the city of Philadelphia. First of all, I want to say how proud I am of the people in the city of Philadelphia. When I tell you we're seeing record numbers of people getting engaged, and I want to really applaud students here in the city of Philadelphia.
Come on, students. Come on. Wait, we've got some students in the room. You guys come get back on camera, and we're going to talk to you next as well. Keep talking, Melissa.
The city of Philadelphia is known as, if you don't know it, the city of Philadelphia is known as the city of eds and meds. So let me just tell you about the record numbers of students who have registered to vote, who are in schools here in the city of Philadelphia, and just not registered to vote, but they're on the ground. They're working in the campaigns. I met a gentleman the other day who was from Australia, who told me that he came to Philadelphia from Australia. I met another young lady who said she was from Allentown. Now we're looking at the numbers, right? I'm going to tell you something that I'm finding very strange. To Al's point, Al just said that Trump called Puerto Rico an island of trash.
You did.
If you look at the numbers, which is the Lehigh Valley, it's red. It's predominantly a Latino residential area, and it is still red. Now, counties like Delaware County historically have been red, but hats off to the liberals out there in Delaware County who were able to stand up and be non-afraid and turn that county blue. Yes. We're talking about historically red Delaware
First
County
time in 200 years.
is turned blue.
First time in 200 years.
So when I tell you people stood up and they were unafraid, that is what they did. So we're looking at historic numbers coming in from the city of Philadelphia. And yes, Vice President Kamala Harris is outperforming President Biden. She really is.
Yeah, she is. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
And
go ahead.
Go
I
ahead.
was just going to say it's too close. I know everyone's thinking North Carolina and Pennsylvania, but it's too close to call anything for the battleground.
But I got to tell you, I think that the numbers are coming in pretty quickly. Yes, Al.
First of all, let's let me.
No, young ladies, I want you to come back.
No, let me allay some of the fears that might be around anxiety. Kamala has multiple paths to victory.
Yes, she does.
Okay. So if North Carolina doesn't work, we got some business in Arizona and Nevada.
Sure.
If Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania has to work. We have to have
Right.
But if Georgia and North Carolina come into play and we pick up Michigan and Wisconsin, you can allay you can allay this anxiety because we're going to do well tonight.
Sure.
We're going to do well tonight. And this is a process. So I am a believer that the process produces. This weekend in Philadelphia, I'm sorry, in Pennsylvania, there were 802,000 doors that were knocked. Door knocks. Like, we're going to your house.
Some doors knock for the second and third time.
Absolutely.
Correct. And let me say, and then Alicia, I'm going to bring you in, but I've got to get my young people in on this because I think that to Melissa's point, she brought up an incredible point. And clearly getting to the election, I mean, you know, the oversaturation, we're political heads. We can talk about it all day, every day. But for the everyday person, leading up to today, it's been a lot. I want both my young people to introduce themselves. And are they on camera? Great. Introduce yourselves. Say the state where you're from. I don't want you to give away too much on this big platform. But say where you're from, the fact that you voted. You don't have to say who you voted for unless you want to. But I think it speaks to Melissa's point, even in Montgomery County here in Pennsylvania, where you've got St. Joe's, Villanova, some of the other colleges where African-American students and other non-African-American students, young women who want to be able to control their bodies are reshaping those numbers in these counties. So both of you introduce yourself to the people and then your comments about just the voting process and why you're participating. They're both a part of the St. Joe's Black Student Union. One's a senior who's graduating in May. Let's give her some.
Yeah, big up.
And we've got our sophomore with us as well. We'll start with the senior. The sophomores, you can wait.
Hello, my name is Sheridan Leek. I'm a senior biology major.
Speak up like you're trying to get a job in May.
I'm a senior biology major. I have 2 minors, one in Spanish and one in health equity and social justice. And I'm the current president for the Black Student Union at St. Joe's.
Let's give it up for our young people. Yes.
And I'm originally from South Jersey, right across the bridge. But I registered to vote here in Pennsylvania. Obviously, it's a swing state. New Jersey is a little bit more comfortable, but I proudly voted for Kamala Harris today.
Look at that strategy. You understand?
That's sophistication.
Come on now.
That's sophistication.
So yeah, over the summer, my mom and a couple of my mentors were like, "So this is an election year. You're president. What's the plan?" And so I made it really important fact that we got right off the bat with BSU this year, making sure that our members know what the voting process is. I know, especially as underclassmen, when you don't necessarily live off campus or have a lease, if you live in a dorm, it's harder to figure out how to register to vote.
Sure.
So that was at our first general members meeting, like the first or second week of classes. I had a big presentation where I just kind of laid out all the rules and all the guidelines and all the dates about voting. That was the first meeting. That was the first introduction of our e-board to our current members. And it went really well. A lot of freshmen, sophomores, underclassmen, all of us, I think, is our first time voting because I'm a senior. This is my first time voting in a presidential election. So this is all of our first times. A lot of our first time voters in college.
Listen,
so
we can say what they want to say about our young people. This is what the future of our young people look like. I want to say to you that Brenda J. Lamore online said she better speak it. She better speak it. She better speak it. Know that we allow you and are proud to have you stand on our shoulders.
I'm very, very excited about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And all the hearts, my dear.
Well, hi guys. I am Lanaya. I am a sophomore at St. Joe's. I'm a film and communications major as well. I am also secretary for BSU alongside Sheridan. And I am from South Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Yes, I am from South
Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, honey. South Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
And just as Sheridan said, this is my first time voting as well, and kind of just seeing Kamala just be be a voice for Black women, especially me. Like, I just look around and just see myself, especially at a PWI, just seeing many people of color and those that are women just kind of like be, I don't know how to really say it. Oh my
Neutral?
God. Neutral. Yes, neutral. Oh my goodness. Y'all, I'm scared.
Don't be afraid. We got you. You're in a room of people who have you.
You were family.
That's right. That's right.
But yes, be neutral and kind of just be a little low about their voice. But now that Kamala is now on stage and kind of making a voice for us, especially kind of bringing us out there, and especially what Sheridan said with Black Student Union, we're kind of making that time to create something for Black people on campus and create something for Black people on a PWI, especially an institution where it's predominantly white. So I feel like it's such a great opportunity just to see a Black woman run for president
and to know that you all are filling the spaces there and really creating a new path. You're creating a new path, especially at St. Joseph University, that Al and I know an awful lot about. So
do y'all be carrying them red cups on the weekend?
They're intentional. They're intentional, and they're engaged with the process. I mean, some young folks, they just kind of like go along to what their parents are doing or what their parents say. But you ladies are intentionally involved, and that's important.
Great. And Alicia, we're going to have to get you on camera the next time you speak. Let me say, Teresa M. Williams Thompson, I stated proud of our young people. My daughter voted at Virginia State University for the very first time. So let's give it up for all of our young people voting for the very first time. Reese Green, your commentary, and you're one of the leaders on campus as well.
Yes. So I am also a senior at St. Joseph's. I am a communications major, sports marketing, and Spanish minor. I'm also the cultural ambassador for Black Student Union and the keeper of records for the Delta Theta chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. Many positions, but the main thing is that we are seeing so many kids our age vote. We're seeing them switch their registrations to Pennsylvania so that they can actually make a change. So my chapter, we consist of 5 schools, and Villanova is one of them. And Villanova had lines to the polls going throughout the entire campus. That's how we came here and we're not here to play. That's what people will keep on saying, that Gen Z is not going to do it, but Gen Z, we've been showing out, and I just love to see it.
All right, great. Let me also bring into the conversation. She and I are both proud graduates of Morgan State University. That's right. Morgan State University is in the house. Tiana Phillips is with us. Thank you for joining us. Welcome. So talk about the Panhellenic in particular and its involvement in galvanizing.
Yeah. So again, I'm Tiana Phillips. I'm president of the National Panhellenic Council.
Wait a minute, before you go, and a former president of the Morgan State University Philadelphia alumni chapter of the National Treasure on the Hill at Cold Spring and Hill and Lane in Baltimore, Maryland. But go ahead. I'm just speaking about my alma mater. I'm just saying.
we got the Panhandlers in the room.
Right. We do.
So let's be clear. The
As always.
Right.
I do currently sit as the president of the National Panhellenic Council of Southeastern Pennsylvania. We represent 5 counties surrounding Philadelphia. So that's Bucks, Chester, Delaware, Philadelphia, and Montgomery counties. And we have 29 chapters that fit into our council. So we have a very large reach within the area. So collectively, we've been doing a lot. We've been focused on voter registration and also ensuring that those who think they're registered are indeed registered. We've heard about folks kind of falling off the rolls and things like that. So we're making sure that you are truly on the rolls. We've also spent some time on education. There's a lot of us, or a lot of people, right, who think they know, but they don't realize what they don't know. So we've spent some time on what is on the ballot, which roles are on the rolls on the ballot this go around, and what those mean, how those affect you, and how they all work together, right? I think we sometimes think that it doesn't matter, that it's not going to make a difference in our day-to-day lives, and it absolutely does. So it was really important to dive in to some of the things that are being talked about on social media and on the news to ensure that we understand what we're reading and what we are digesting so that we can vote from an educated point of view, right? I often say that an uneducated vote can be just as dangerous as not voting at all. So we're trying our best to drive that point home with our community. And thirdly, we've worked towards voter mobilization.
Yeah.
So we've passed out information about how you can get to the polls if you need a ride. There were discounts for Lyft and Uber and etc. So we've made sure to circulate that information both in our communities and on social media. The chapters have been absolutely mobilizing. They've been in high schools. They've been in senior centers. They've been in all these places where sometimes we forget about, making sure.
All right, hold that. Vice President Kamala Harris projected winner in Maryland.
Okay.
Wow.
Right? Now. Okay, come on now.
The reason why that's significant is Kamala will have coattails, which will affect that Senate race.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
Well, I mean,
Al and I were talking.
We're here,
right? Because she's running. Because also Brooks, who's running for Senate and running against the former governor. But my thought has been that the current governor is a huge supporter of hers. Correct. But the current governor is a huge Westmore, a huge and a huge supporter, a veteran, and that I believe that momentum will carry. I think she did an amazing job on her own in the primary, and then she's been holding it down in the general election.
From PG County.
PG County.
PG County.
Yeah. So we could end up with 2 African American senators. Because it's one thing to have whoever
three actually.
The third,
all red from Texas.
African American.
Yes. He wins. Yes.
Oh well, yeah. Well, I didn't win. Yeah, I was speaking specifically from female, and yes, I would love to have 3 because we'd be rid of that other guy. Yeah. And I think Texas is in play.
Texas is definitely in play,
right?
Texas is definitely in play. And Ted Cruz is he's
scared.
Yes, he is.
He should be.
He has anxiety.
I would like to underscore what Triana has shared with us, and the groundwork that when you have a stage, you have the performance on stage, but then you have those who are operating in the wings of the stage who are doing the groundwork who you don't see. And when I hear and learn about the groundwork that you all have done very quietly, unceremoniously, not looking for applause, is so essential to connecting the dots for voters.
That's right.
That leads to the kind of win that I'm hopeful we'll see in Pennsylvania.
Yes.
It's the quiet work that happens when people aren't watching. It's those little tasks that matter that really add up to the gains.
That's right.
Do you know that Kamala's line sisters came to Philadelphia three consecutive weeks? That's right, 3 consecutive weekends.
And walked
West Philly and Germantown.
Yes, they did.
Absolutely.
Yes, they did.
No, that happened.
Yes, they did.
That happened.
And that is amazing.
That is beautiful.
And there were also AKAs that came from New York City.
Yes.
That came down to Philly.
Yes.
How about I participated in a motorcade 2 weeks ago, which for me was really, really exciting because this is what Al and I did 20 years ago, the old-fashioned way. There were laborers, people who don't look like us, who came from Connecticut and Rhode Island to participate in a motorcade. So even the labor community across state lines were figuring out how they could be helpful to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. They were more excited than we were. It was at least 20 cars, 10 of which went out throughout North Philly, and another 10 of which that went throughout West Philly. And again, it's that ground game that you can't do. You can't do the weekend before showtime.
No,
that kind of work has to start almost a year out.
That's right.
To capture the attention of voters, and then to hold on to those voters, and then to sometimes drag them to the polls by touching them in various ways. So I really commend the work of the Panhellenic Council. It's really important.
Good. I want to give you an opportunity. I just wanted to mention Marilyn. Go right ahead with the finish your comment.
Oh, yes. Just around voter mobilization. So making sure that people know where they should be going to vote. If they choose to send in a mail-in ballot, where those should be dropped off, or when they need to mail them by, if they're going to actually put them in the mail. So we did spend some time doing things like that as well. We also wanted to make sure that people were just secure, right? That they understood that their voices mattered, that every vote counts. you know, and that these candidates are in this state so often for a reason.
Yeah.
They recognize that there is something to win and there's something to lose here. So we have to continue to fight to make our voices heard and et cetera. And there's similar things that have happened across the country, you know, to prepare for this vote. So it's not just happening in this area. There was a huge bus that the D9 chartered out in Illinois to get out the vote. The huge things are happening. There have been rallies, you know, where you've had people come in and bring their mail-in ballots to drop them off on the same day with music and celebration and dancing and et cetera. So this stuff is happening all over the country by the D9. So we are very much present and accounted for in the sake of this election.
All right. And thanks a lot. And we want you to stay in the conversation. People are going to be jumping in and out of the conversation. I think we mentioned a couple of things. And I think Blondell mentioned it earlier, talking about the galvanizing of the union vote and the like of being on the ground. And the ground game was incredible. I mean, it was just a stellar campaign. Al, would you agree with that?
So my orientation when I came into this was that we didn't have a lot of money. So that's what we had at our disposal, which was ground game. So before I get into ground game, I need to say something about President Biden. President Biden did something that not too many people would do. He got off the stage at the right moment and he bequeathed the nomination pretty much to Kamala.
Right.
That is an extraordinary step because we don't often see the transference of power like that.
Correct.
And for the people that, you know, encouraged him that he needed to take a step back and for him to get out of his ego and say, this ain't about me, it's about the country. So I like our squad because our squad, we have ethics and we have something. They not like us. That's what I'm looking for.
Okay.
They not like us. So the ground game that you're seeing is and has been in place for Rocky. What's up, baby? The ground game has been in place for 4 years because Biden had the ground game and he transitioned over to Kamala. Kamala with her energy, her $1.3 million that she raised in you know, from July to now, it borders on phenomenal. And I would say that the Elon Musk factor where he's paying canvassers, he's giving out $1 million bonuses and all that, that ain't gonna work because how you do a canvas operation, like for instance, vote by mail, there's a process. The ballot goes out, or you got to apply for it. It goes out. It has to be filled in and it has to be sent back in. Well, this campaign has had a chase operation in place where they could figure out how many ballots were mailed, how many were responded to. They got phone calls. I got 6. I didn't vote early on purpose because I wanted to see how the operation would work. I got 6 calls today and 3 text messages to remind me that I needed to go take care of this thing. So in terms of ground game, in Pennsylvania, we have a superior operation. And as Krasner said, they're going to F around and find out.
Right. Let's see, 28 electoral votes in New York. There are too early to call in Iowa as well. Let me read a couple of messages. Grab that, Melissa. Roberta Albany, thank you so much. We appreciate you. Carol Poole, thank you for checking in. Hello, Michelle. Is it Michelle Jacobs? Teeny Heath, Sheila Jones, Faye McLeod, Levon, Tanya Wynn. Thank you all so much for joining us for this so important conversation that we're having tonight. Melissa, you were making some comments as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, for those of you who are wondering why our district attorney, Larry Krasner, came with such strong comments, I just want to say some of the stunts that we see around the Commonwealth, for example, in Allegheny County, there's poll blocking, there's alarm pulling. It's a lot of stunts to try to discourage the vote. And much to Al's point, I personally held on to my mail-in ballot extra long just to see how many times the universe would be combed, just to see if they would chase me. I just wanted to see how intentional and how calculated this operation was. And I'm going to tell you something right now. My phone rang every single day saying, Ms. Robbins, we noticed that you haven't voted mail-in your. I took my mail-in ballot to the polls, signed off, and I went and voted myself. But I just wanted to see if they would allow me to linger, and they did not.
Mm-hmm.
So
the process worked.
The process worked. So back to the point about Allegheny County, it was important for District Attorney Larry Krasner to make a point to say, if you attempt to compromise our fair election process, you will be held accountable. And I'm going to share something with you that I've never really shared publicly. In 2020, I was at a polling location in Northeast, and I was harassed and I was threatened by someone at the polls. I made a phone call, and do you know, in less than an hour, 2 patrol cars came out there and put that individual in handcuffs, and he had a gun on him. He really did. And that was Larry Krasner. That was Larry Krasner. He arrested this man at the polls. So he's serious about protecting polling here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So for those of you who are indifferent about District Attorney,
this race in Nebraska, Dan Osborne, right, and it is one to watch because he's running against an incumbent. He's running as an independent, but he's running against an incumbent Republican senator. She's at 41%. He's at 58%. He's an everyday guy. He was a mechanic doing his thing. And here he is getting ready to win Nebraska, 58% to 41%. I believe it said almost 65% of the precincts had reported already. It just tells you where people are.
I was thinking that. What does that tell you about people?
It tells you where people are, and I think we're talking about Nebraska. So but we looked at some of these states where Wyoming that went red. I'll say that. Let's see, Florida. The abortion amendment, they voted
winning handedly, right?
Yeah. And that's 86% in.
And which suggests women are sick of others.
Well, we expected Trump to take Florida. Who's surprised about that?
I was being nuts.
Did you want to introduce yourself to the people listening and watching?
88% in. Okay.
Was it Georgia? To call Georgia.
Yeah. So Melissa, I'm sorry. Go right ahead.
No, I was just saying that people have their feelings about our district attorney. I know he went viral with those comments, but there was a reason why he had to.
And I didn't see anybody, assertive. And I'm sure there's probably some people who said, "Oh, that was a little bit much," but I saw people appreciate his comment.
Absolutely, given
it was warranted. It was warranted. For those people outside of the city of Philadelphia, our district attorney has not been well received because, let's just face it, he was one of the most progressive district attorneys that we've seen in the United States thus far. Really, this man led the charge in exonerating so many Black men who were wrongfully incarcerated and held in prisons for 30, 40 years. So that was kind of unpopular. And he also ran on a platform saying that he would hold any police officer or law enforcement officer accountable. And he did. And he exposed things to the voters in Philadelphia that we did not know before. And one example is there was a do not call list, meaning you could not call this particular law enforcement officer in court to testify based on his wrongdoing. So this is a man who says what he means and means what he says.
Yeah. Let me bring Reverend Dr. Rocky Brown into the conversation as well. You've heard him on headlines as well, and the talk of the town topic. So it's been a long day for you as well. You've been out and about.
Yes.
And today, the day has finally arrived. It's election night. It is election night. No, Rocky. Over there. Yeah. So your thought on today and where we are?
Well, I was down in Delaware County, and I was just shocked with all the elections I've been involved with. I've never seen a partial election, whereas every single sign that where I was in the area was all for Harris. You would have thought she was running unopposed. It was exciting to see so many young people out and excited about voting for her. And I hope this will be a trend that they need to know that they're going to be involved. I was at one precinct for an hour, and it seemed like every other voter was a new voter, and they were cheering them. You know, we had the DJs at the polls. That was different. You know,
and they did that around the country.
Yes.
Michigan, Maryland, which was an initiative, and quite frankly, a number of new initiatives as well. Shout out to the NAACP and their national chapter as well for doing some very unique get out, souls to the polls campaigns and the like, and the whole mixing and DJs at the polls.
Mhm.
There were some people I talked to today in both Maryland and Michigan that said they pulled up and they were like, and it's beautiful weather as well across the country, and they were like, they danced their way to the poll.
And we
and
should
not
shout
sure.
out the person who created that initiative and that platform, our own Anton Moore, the creator of Unity in the Community in South Philadelphia. He came up with that idea, DJs to the polls, and then we saw it take flight in other states. So listen, we have to think of each other outside of our own borders, right? We're in Philadelphia and the Commonwealth, but we have to think about our brothers and sisters in states all around the nation. So shout out to you, Anton Moore from South Philadelphia, known as the P, Unity in the Community.
And they weren't just DJs; they were good DJs. I was shocked. I came out of my car. I don't know if the brother knew me or not, but as soon as I came to one poll, he started playing Atomic Dog. And I was like, oh, I was excited. I said, you must have known my background. It was great.
You're cute.
Yeah.
Oh, look
Yeah.
at that.
What
Look at
else
that.
is
Look at
there
that.
to be?
I don't go down. I'm not going to get into that. Look at that.
So,
Yeah.
the
Shout out
numbers,
to the
the
Omegas.
numbers are still coming in. It does not look like, and I mean, I think North Carolina, I think at Georgia, the numbers are coming in a lot faster. We're going to be online at least for the next hour, just looking at what's happening across the country. And of course, Jim Kornacki, watching him do what he does, it's just brilliant in terms of looking at what those numbers are. And we all definitely paid close attention when he hit Pennsylvania, which he's going to cover after he talks about North Carolina, which is in play. And listen, for the Democrats historically have never really looked at North Carolina being in play. But at this point, we'll take what we can. If you think Blundell?
Mark Robertson lost.
Yeah, correct. Yes,
Are
he
you
did.
talking about the Nazi candidate?
Candidate,
the black
correct.
Nazi candidate.
Correct. Correct. Thank goodness. One down.
Because we don't want to start that trend.
One down.
Yeah, that's a trend we don't want to start.
One down. One down. So North Carolina, Blondell, is in play for the Democrats to win where it has not been before. Right now, it is at 51 to 48% Republican.
If you follow the travel of the candidates over the last 100, less than 100 days that she's been participating, you could see strategically where her brilliant team, most of whom came from the Obama team, is that not right, Al Spivey? She was able to, they were willing. How about they were willing? And she was able and willing to receive them, given the masters that they were in conquering the Obama race in 2008. If you paid attention to just where she was traveling, they gave you some indicators as to where they believe they had chances of trying to move the needle in the blue direction. And North Carolina was certainly one of them. Now, a part of the backstory behind that I learned last night while at that amazing rally that her team did across the country, the governor of North Carolina, who's also a prosecutor, they have their own association, and he got to know Kamala during her tenure as a prosecutor, and thus a friendship was born. And that coupled with the numbers from 2020, there were indicators that North Carolina would be in play, and here we sit this evening with 41% of the vote in, and it's still in place. It's certainly too close to call.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, in Pennsylvania, I mean, you, Melissa, Al, really engaged about politics here in the area, and Al clearly across the state and around the country as we get ready to what we would hope would be a historical moment. What does it mean for you, Melissa?
I'll tell you
tonight. What does this mean?
What is it? Thank you so much for asking me that question, Frankie. What it means to me is all of the thoughts and the feelings that I had as a little girl that I didn't know how to express and didn't feel safe to express. You see, when I was a kid and I began to learn about our ancestors and I began to learn about Black history, I was overwhelmed with it. I watched Roots at the age of 9, and I knew right then and there that I would spend the rest of my life defending Black people. To know what my ancestors endured for me, knowing that they planted the seeds for trees that they would never enjoy the shade from, knowing that they gave their lives, knowing that they never had peace, and knowing that the late, great Shirley Chisholm ran to be the first Black woman. And she didn't even want to see herself as the first Black woman because she knew that it was her right to run for president 52 years ago, before I was born. And to know that here it is, 52 years later, another Black woman dares to be the commander in chief. It means everything to me. And I'm going to tell you something right now. For every young Black woman or any Black woman that's listening to the sound of my voice, dare to be great. You dare to be great. I don't care what they tell you you can't do or they tell you you're not capable of doing. I don't care if you're terrified. Dare to be great. Defy the odds. Our country was built on our backs. Your ancestors hung, swung, burned, and bled for you to experience the liberation that you have today. The intimidation means nothing. You take away our school and our education, it means nothing. You block our ability to become homeowners and business owners and creators and innovators. It means nothing. Do you know who you are and where you came from and what you're capable of? So that's what it means to me, Frankie Darcell. I am because they were. And I'm not going to stop until I have my last breath. And I don't care who tells me that I can't. I can and I will.
All right. I'll take that. We'll take that. Rocky, your thought in just where we are. And and to be at this place at this time. And we talked about the lead up to the election, and the election is here. And quite frankly, I won't say that it's over, but the polls are closed.
Yes, ma'am.
It's now a waiting game to see the.
Still have 9 o'clock.
Oh, sure. Well, yeah, I know. I'm just saying that, but there's the nothing. My point was going to be that all the work is done.
Yes.
The horse is out the gate. Now let's see what we put in and what we're going to get out. That was my point now.
But let's talk about the fact that Pennsylvania is quite unlike other states because of the fact that we saw. So you just said yourself, you voted when? 2 weeks ago, right? So we're going to see some pretty accurate numbers come in to Pennsylvania quickly, right? Because when Act 77 was first passed initially in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, it was a matter of, counting the numbers of people who were voting at the polls and then watching the mail-in ballots trickle in, right? Now that we have the ability to mail our ballots in early, those numbers are going to be quite accurate. So right now we are seeing Vice President Kamala Harris lead Donald Trump here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
All right, let's hear and listen and have a conversation as well, because Georgia is one of those places that could be in play, and let's see what's happening there and what's happening in Fulton County, Cobb County, and some of those counties with
Gwinnett
the heavy Black vote. Gwinnett.
Harris is winning here by 16. The concern for Democrats is the remaining vote, we suspect, is that election day vote. A little bit more Republican friendly. 16 would be a very good margin for Democrats in Cobb, but does that come down? If it falls below that 2020 level, that's very alarming for Democrats. Fulton County, again, we've got the early voting here, and now some of the same day as well. Look at that. It looks exactly like it did in 2020. Democrats want to grow that a little more. Again, concern for them. It's a big blue county, but if what's still to come in Fulton is a little less blue, and that number slips below 2020, that's a trouble sign for Democrats. We flagged Fayette County early in the night. Would this one flip? If the blob, I call it the blue blob there, was going to expand, this is the place. It's not quite all in, but almost all in right now. You see Trump with a 2.5-point lead. Now, that is progress for Democrats from from 2020. This was a 7-point race in 2020, so it's progress for Democrats. Will it be enough progress? Again, those other big, giant suburban counties, they're going to tell a lot of that story. We finally have a little bit in Gwinnett County. I just want to linger on this one for a minute because it's enormous. This county has over 1 million people. It has transformed demographically in the last generation. This used to be a staunchly Republican, heavily white county. It's now one of the most diverse in the country. Democrats, you can see Biden won here by 18 points in 2020. And again, the Democratic margin here, it's just been, look at this, in 2016, it was a single-digit race. It became almost 20 in 2020. Democrats want this over 20 tonight. Let's see, it's early there, but that's a key one just because of the size and because of the trajectory. So again, oh, and we can also just take a look. I said these sort of exurban, fringe Atlanta metro counties that are red. The question here is, do they become less red? The biggest of them is Cherokee County, and we got almost all of Cherokee County now. This is what Canton, Georgia is, one of the wealthiest counties in the state of Georgia here. Take a look. This is what happened in 2020. Donald Trump won here.
So he won there in 2020.
2 points tonight. He's winning it. You can see almost the same as about a 0.3 of a point off. The Trump campaign, let's see here. They don't want big slippage. They're not big slippage. I think they would have liked to claw back a little bit more here, but they're not losing ground. And there are scenarios where that's enough for them in Georgia. You can look next door. Is Forsyth County. Now, this is another. This is very wealthy. This is a biggie you can see in terms of votes. This is a place where Trump lost substantial ground in 2020. Now, bulk of the vote is in. Same day still to come, so room for Trump growth here. He's already overperforming a point from where he finished in 2020. That's an encouraging one for Republicans. You can just kind of complete this loop quickly. I'll just show you some of them here. Again, Hall County is one, almost all in. Trump had slippage here in 2020. You see, he's improved by about 1.5 points here. Not major, but this was a state that was decided by a fraction of a point in 2020, so any shift is significant. Barrow County, almost all in. Again, Trump had slippage here in 2020. A little bit more slippage here tonight for Trump. You can see Harris running 1.5 points better than Biden did. Trump basically level with 2020. And you can take a look down here, Walton County. Again, this is the early vote in Walton County. Trump has slippage.
Can we have an honest conversation while we're going through Georgia? We're going to come back and have the conversation when he flips over to Pennsylvania. I got to tell you, what a nation we live in where you have choice and freedom of speech. But I'm floored that a lot of people would not want to live next door to an individual that has the resume of the Republican candidate. God bless America.
You want to know what your thoughts are very similar to mine. I'm sitting here and as they're calling the numbers for Georgia, and we're seeing the overwhelming counties outside of the Atlanta metropolitan area go for Trump, my thoughts are there are people, I mean, we're talking about high functioning, high earning individuals that would accept his gibberish, would accept his vitriol, his hate, his disdain for our country, one who would embrace our adversaries abroad and accept this man to lead future generations. It's terrifying. I mean, it's just terrifying. I can't think of another word. I'm just like, do you people hate, other people who are not non-white Anglo-Saxon men that much? I mean, what is it that you love and what is it that you hate so much and why?
I agree with you 100%. I was sitting here thinking, how could anybody actually vote for him? With the rhetoric, with the things he was saying, with the town meetings he had where he turned one and just to a party, did no talking about his platform or anything, just sat around and danced. I had a significant incident happen today, whereas I was at a polling place and one of my students, his mother was there to vote, a white young lady. And she said her husband kept insisting that she vote for Trump. And she looked at me and she said, tell me why I should vote for Harris. And when I got done, she said, I'm going to vote for Harris because I believe that's what my heart is telling me. When she was leaving there, she was telling her son, regardless of what your dad says, you should always vote for what your heart tells you to do. Wow. And that made me so
Where's
happy.
Your polling location? Don't mind me asking.
This is down in Chester. It wasn't maximum. I'm a constable.
Oh. Okay.
So I was traveling to different polling places. And That was just so significant. And it just took me out that her husband was insisting that she vote for Trump. And I have a guy I work with, and I was telling Frankie earlier, this guy is adamant about Trump, and he doesn't believe half the stuff that he says as far as Project 2025. And I was trying to tell him it's real, and he's serious, and it's going to happen, and all he kept talking about was the economy. And there are people who just believe that rhetoric. But something happened today also in another poll.
They just called Rhode Island.
Mm-hmm.
And if anyone's been to that northern part of New England,
right,
and the like, and you talking about, conservatives or, people who are white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, and I think the president won, the vice president also won Maryland, and
first transgender, Sarah McBride, Delaware, just came in.
Oh, Delaware. Okay, great.
First trans woman. Yeah, Sarah McBride.
Good for her.
She actually won in the House.
Good. And convincingly, 57% to 42%. And just how the regions of the country are so different. Be you white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, but yet the vice president picks up Massachusetts and Rhode Island at the same time. And then, you go south and in some of the wealthiest areas in Georgia and the like, the Republican candidate won Alabama. And you just look to see, is it the new South or the same old? But it is still early. It is still very early, you would say. So, Reese, we want to continue, or do we take 5 minutes and come back?
Yeah.
Take 5 minutes. We're going to take 5 minutes. We're going to come back. When we do, we're going to galvanize a number of the numbers. A couple of the Senate races over. We're still waiting to see, which I have not seen yet, the Senate race in Maryland, the Senate race as well in Michigan. And they haven't talked much about Michigan as well in terms of some of those numbers. So listen, we're going to come back in just a little bit. Let me say hello to a couple of people. Hello to Michelle. Anthony Wynn, thank you so much for your wonderful comments. Hello, Carol Poole. Thank you so much to Roberta Albany. So come right back. We'll be back in just a few minutes. It is election night 2024. This will be one to remember for sure. So can we give all of my guests a round of applause? Thank you all so much for coming in. So we'll be back in 10 minutes.
So you are
Melissa Robbins.
Melissa
Political